If you ever loved Starsky for his recklessness, or Hutch for his righteous heart, then are you ready to face the part of the story that was never told? While some lived among drugs, gunfire, mental illness, and horrifying deaths, others remained basking in the spotlight for decades. Can you guess who they are? Let's uncover their real names and find out where they are now. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's dive in. David Soul as Detective Ken Hutch Hutchinson. In 1975, David Soul appeared on American television as Detective Ken Hutch Hutchinson, a calm, thoughtful, and emotionally deep cop in the hit series Starsky and Hutch. At that time, he was 32 years old, carrying a boyish charm, sandy blonde hair, and sorrowful eyes. But few could have guessed that the man playing the ideal cop on screen was carrying a personal life full of complexity, chaos, and pain, right up to his final moments. Though he released several solo albums, most notably Don't Give Up on Us, which topped the charts in both the UK and US, the limelight quickly gave way to darkness. His personal life was a string of failed marriages. Soul married 5 times, and none ended peacefully. The most shocking incident occurred in 1983, when he was arrested for assaulting his third wife, Patty Carnell Sherman. The public was stunned. A man once seen as the perfect cop on screen was now in handcuffs in real life. Although the couple later reconciled, his reputation never fully recovered. And do you know the root cause? According to many sources, Soul was heavily addicted to alcohol throughout the 1970s and 1980s. His drinking led to rage, loss of control, and depression. He underwent multiple treatments, but addiction clung to him like a shadow, persistent and quietly eroding his health. In addition to alcohol, he was a chronic smoker, a habit that eventually seeded the tragedy to come. In 2024, David Soul passed away at the age of 80 after a long battle with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and complications from cancer. His wife, Helen Snell, called it a brave fight in the arms of family. Before his passing, Soul lived in London, far from the media spotlight, occasionally appearing at commemorative events. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $5 million, modest compared to his once renowned status. But what can't be measured is the emotional legacy he left behind. Paul Michael Glazer as Detective Dave Starsky. In 1975, at just 32 years old, Paul Michael Glazer appeared on television as Detective Dave Starsky, a hot-headed, impulsive cop who never backed down in Starsky and Hutch. But just as his career hit its peak, his real life began to unravel into a brutal series of tragedies no Hollywood script could ever anticipate. Glazer married Elizabeth Meyer, a brilliant, strong, and deeply compassionate woman. In 1981, when she gave birth to their first daughter, Ariel, Elizabeth received a blood transfusion contaminated with HIV, something no one realized until it was too late. Not only did she unknowingly pass the virus to Ariel, but she herself also developed the illness. At that time, HIV/AIDS was still considered a death sentence and carried a heavy social stigma. The Glazer family lived in silence, enduring each day. Ariel passed away in 1988 at just 7 years old. Elizabeth died 6 years later in 1994, after founding the Elizabeth Glazer Pediatric AIDS Foundation, one of the pioneering organizations supporting research on HIV/AIDS in children. Glazer, once a famous TV actor, became a man who brought his personal pain to the front lines of justice. But no one can be a hero forever. In May 2012, while staying at the Hilton Garden Inn in Bowling Green, Kentucky, Paul Michael Glazer, then 69 years old, was suddenly raided by police. An anonymous tip reported Paul Glazer smoking marijuana near the elevator. When officers arrived, they found a pipe and remnants of burnt marijuana in his room. Glazer did not deny it. He explained that it was legal medical marijuana from California, prescribed for chronic health issues, but Kentucky law did not recognize it. Although he was only issued a warning and not criminally charged, the incident made waves in the media. a 1970s icon, once known for fighting crime on screen, now arrested for drugs in a hotel. The public was divided, some condemned, some sympathized. But Glazer himself stayed silent. As of 2025, he is 82 years old and lives quietly in California. His estimated net worth is around $4 million. He no longer cares about fame, red carpets, or the glow of television. The only thing he's kept is an old photo, Elizabeth and Ariel, smiling in the sunlight. On the small wooden frame, a faded inscription remains, "For the battles we fought, for the love we lost. Antonio Fargus as Huggy Bear." In 1975, Antonio Fargus was just 29 years old when he appeared on television as Huggy Bear, the witty, sharp, and reliable informant in Starsky and Hutch. The role didn't just make audiences laugh, it turned Fargus into a cultural icon for black representation on the small screen. But when the cameras stopped rolling, his real life quietly entered a phase no one saw coming. Antonio Fargus was once a familiar face in iconic blaxploitation films like Foxy Brown, Shaft, and Car Wash. He was a leading man, the embodiment of cool in the black artistic community. But fame came too quickly and vanished just as fast. In the 1980s, as the blaxploitation wave faded, Fargus fell into crisis. Roles became scarce, contracts were cut, income was unstable. He had to take on various behind-the-scenes jobs to make ends meet, a period the press later called the silence after the applause. Then, in 2006, a turning point came in the form of love. Fargus married Sandra DeVee, a Canadian businesswoman with a farming background who had found success in real estate in Los Angeles. The marriage came late in life, but it was the first time Fargus found true stability. The two lived quietly, moved to Las Vegas, raised dogs, grew flowers, and stayed far away from Hollywood drama. It was a rare time of peace in his life, but peace did not last. On April 25, 2023, Sandra passed away at age 80 after a long, silent battle with illness. Antonio Fargus was by her side until the very end. The loss devastated him. "She was my last light," he said at a memorial event. As of 2025, at age 79, Antonio Fargus still appears at nostalgic events like the Monte Carlo Television Festival. But he is no longer the radiant Huggy Bear of old. He wears glasses, his beard is gray, and he walks slowly. His net worth is estimated at around $2 million from over 50 years of acting. People still remember him, but they no longer crowd him for autographs. Alan Miller as James Brady. He was 48 years old when he appeared in a 1977 episode of Starsky and Hutch, playing James Brady, a minor character who passed briefly across the screen. But behind that fleeting face was a quiet yet deeply layered life, a resilient journey through war, stage lights, and eventual obscurity. Alan Miller was born on February 14, 1929. After World War II, he served in Japan as an American soldier during the post-war occupation. A casting notice in Stars and Stripes drew him to the stage, where he first stood on wooden planks, performing for fellow soldiers. When he returned to the U.S. in 1948, he entered the harshest world of training, studying under Uta Hagen and Lee Strasberg, alongside classmates like James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, and Paul Newman. But he didn't become a star. He chose instead to be a teacher, a mentor, a builder behind the spotlight. He once taught Barbra Streisand when she was a teenager, trained actors at Yale, and opened a small theater with his wife, the Back Alley Theater, where plays were performed without press, without awards. A beautiful path, but one not meant for fame. His personal life wasn't peaceful either. His first wife, actress Anita Cooper, passed away quietly. He remarried Laura Zucker, a cultural manager who stayed by his side in both career and old age. But Miller's uncelebrated career meant he often had to fight to keep his name from being erased from the Los Angeles theater system. He was once a plaintiff in a landmark lawsuit that shook the city's small theater scene in 1980. By 2025, Alan Miller is 96 years old, living quietly in California. No scandals, no reality TV, no golden statues. His net worth is estimated at about $1 million, mostly from royalties for his book A Passion for Acting, acting instruction DVDs, and small television roles. Bernie Hamilton as Captain Harold Doby. He was 47 years old when he took on the role of Captain Harold Doby, the strict but upright commanding officer, in the 1975 series Starsky and Hutch. On screen, he was the voice of conscience in a police world torn apart by violence and corruption. But after the final cut, Bernie Hamilton stepped into a darkness no one noticed. Born on June 12, 1928 in Los Angeles, Hamilton grew up during a time when a black man was expected to remain on the sidelines of the film industry. He patiently appeared in dozens of supporting roles, silent, forgettable, until he suddenly broke through as Doby. Yet when Starsky and Hutch ended, Hollywood slammed shut the door he had just managed to open. No lead roles. No calls came. Hamilton withdrew from the spotlight. He founded Chocolate Snowman, a small record label focused on R&B and gospel music, a final act of faith in art. But within that silence, Hamilton lived alone, never remarrying after his divorce from Maxine King, the mother of his two children, Raoul and Candy. He spent most of his time in a small studio in Los Angeles, quiet, steadfast, just like the character he played. On December 30th, 2008, Bernie Hamilton collapsed at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center from a heart attack. No press conference, no celebrities attended the funeral. He passed away quietly, at age 80, leaving behind two children and a legacy slowly faded by time. His net worth was estimated at only around $2 million, modest for someone who once helped change how television portrayed Black Americans. Richard Ward as Deputy D.A. Claiborne. He was 60 years old when he appeared in the television series Starsky and Hutch in 1975, playing Deputy D.A. Claiborne, a seasoned, experienced prosecutor who regularly assisted the detectives in complicated cases. With a piercing gaze and calm voice, Richard Ward didn't need many words to command authority. But beneath the TV prosecutor's suit was a man who had walked through war zones, the stage, and finally, a quiet death just months after the cameras stopped rolling. Born on March 15, 1915 in Glenside, Pennsylvania, Richard Ward didn't step into acting right away. Before reaching the Broadway stage, he served for 10 years in the New York Police Department, a decade of confronting real crime, not scripted drama. That experience made him one of the rare black actors who could bring raw authenticity to every screen role. In 1972, he became the first African-American ever allowed by Arthur Miller to play Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, a historic breakthrough not only for him, but for American theater. However, the price of a late-blooming career was immense pressure. Ward once confided that he felt chased by time and had to work twice, even 3 times as hard to be recognized. In his final years, he took on more television roles, from Good Times to The Jeffersons, All in the Family, while enduring physical strain and grueling schedules. Though never publicly acknowledged, close friends revealed he frequently struggled with heart problems, but kept acting out of fear of being forgotten. On July 1, 1979, Richard Ward died suddenly of a heart attack, just months after his last appearance in Starsky and Hutch. He passed away at age 64, while still negotiating new roles. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $300,000, modest for a 30-year career marked by dedication and groundbreaking contributions. Carol White as Lois. She was 26 years old when she appeared in a 1975 episode of Starsky and Hutch, playing Lois, a brief supporting character in the vibrant backdrop of 1970s Los Angeles. It might seem that no one paid attention to the name Carol Ita White among a quiet ensemble of supporting actors, but behind that woman was a complicated journey and truths that Hollywood silently brushed aside for years. Born in 1949, Carol Ita White was the daughter of veteran actor Jesse White. Growing up in the heart of Beverly Hills, it seemed like she had everything she needed to succeed: connections, position, and artistic lineage, but her father's towering shadow made it a struggle for her to prove herself. She studied at Arizona State University, then gradually found her way into supporting television roles, starting with Evil Roy Slade, then The Odd Couple, and later her standout part as Big Rosie in Laverne and Shirley. Though she gained attention for playing loud, rough-edged, and eccentric roles, Carol's career quickly became typecast, an actress rarely invited to play deep characters. But what pushed Carol into controversy wasn't her acting. On January 19, 2010, during a live interview on Sirius Radio, Carol unexpectedly came out as bisexual. For many in the LGBTQ+ community, it was a brave moment. But to a still judgmental entertainment industry at the time, the declaration felt like a severed lifeline. Film offers dried up, and even game shows began declining her schedule for undisclosed reasons. She once shared that she felt isolated by both worlds, the one I belonged to and the one I tried to break into. In the following years, Carol stepped out of the spotlight, choosing instead to live alone and occasionally participate in independent projects like Wannabe, 2006, where no one asked about her past. By 2025, Carol Ida White is 76 years old, living quietly in Los Angeles. Her net worth is estimated at around $500,000, mostly from old TV roles, scattered residuals, and actor retirement benefits. In her living room still hangs a black and white photo of her and her father, Jesse White, when she was just 6, standing in front of a rundown theater stage. Beneath the photo, a handwritten caption fades. "I'll step up there, even if no one calls my name. Roz Kelly as Officer Linda Baylor." In 1975, at the age of 32, Roz Kelly appeared in the series Starsky and Hutch as Officer Linda Baylor, a sharp, strong, and bold policewoman. Initially, her character was created to replace Starsky when lead actor Paul Michael Glazer announced he would leave the series. However, Glazer returned, and Kelly's role lasted only 3 episodes. In that brief moment, Roz Kelly captivated audiences. So what caused a once promising television icon to suddenly vanish from the spotlight? Roz Kelly, born Rosalind Schwartz, was born on July 29, 1943, in New Jersey. Before becoming an actress, she worked as a photographer for New York Magazine, capturing everyday moments of Andy Warhol, Jimi Hendrix, and Leonard Cohen. When she entered Hollywood, she carried with her an unusual boldness and a charisma that producers believed could make her a star. Her role as Pinky Tuscadero in Happy Days was once expected to make her the queen of the small screen in the 1970s. But behind the scenes were irreconcilable conflicts with producers, screaming matches, fits of anger, and ultimately, her sudden dismissal. Pinky disappeared from the screen, and so did Roz Kelly. But the drama didn't end there. 2 decades after her time in the spotlight, on the night of November 29, 1998, Kelly, in a fit of rage, fired a shotgun into her neighbor's window after being awakened by a car alarm. She then fired at their vehicle and another nearby. When arrested, the woman once dubbed the rebel muse of American TV stood silently before the court, receiving 3 years probation and mandatory psychiatric treatment. 2 years later, she was arrested again for hitting a man with a cane. The brief news headlines couldn't capture the loneliness, anger, and trauma buried within a fallen star. As of 2025, Roz Kelly is 82 years old. She lives quietly, away from the media, unmarried, childless, and unseen by the public for nearly 2 decades. Her net worth is estimated at around $1 million, from old contracts, residual royalties, and reruns on cable TV. But what people remember about Roz Kelly isn't the number. It's the image of a woman with piercing eyes, a pink leather outfit, and a stormy past. Marky Bay as Officer Minnie Kaplan. In 1977, at age 30, Marky Bay portrayed Officer Minnie Kaplan in Starsky and Hutch, a no-nonsense, intelligent traffic officer who dared to challenge the male-dominated world around her. Not a lead role, but her regular appearance in 6 episodes made Marky Bay a quiet yet memorable presence for TV audiences. Few knew that behind those sharp eyes was a soul struggling to find her place in a Hollywood where fame for black women was often just a flash in the pan. Born March 1, 1947 in Philadelphia, Marky, birth name Marky Bay, began her career with a leading role in Sugar Hill, 1974, a horror film in the blaxploitation style where she played a woman seeking revenge with zombies. The role immediately caught public attention, but also brought invisible pressure. While the blaxploitation genre opened doors for black actors, it also faced criticism for its stereotypical, violent, and exploitative portrayals of women. For Marky, every appearance on camera was a confrontation with herself, between art and ethics, between success and a quiet retreat. After a few roles in Beretta, Charlie's Angels, and some independent films, Marky disappeared from Hollywood in the late 1980s, without a farewell or scandal. It was only later revealed that she chose to leave because she was tired of being typecast. She married actor Don Fenwick in 1974, a rare, lasting marriage in the chaotic world of showbiz. The two began a completely new chapter, organizing murder mystery cruise events around Los Angeles, where Marky played the detective and the audience were the suspects. On the waves, she found something the stage never gave her: freedom. As of 2025, Marky Bay is 78 years old. She lives quietly among entertainment cruises and handmade dollhouse models she crafts herself, each miniature room, each tiny chair reflecting a life of quiet elegance. Her net worth is estimated at around $1 million. Not the sum of a Hollywood star, but enough for a life without debt. No fanfare, no spotlight. But for those who watched Sugar Hill or Starsky and Hutch, the name Marky Bay remains a special memory of a woman who dared to say no to fame to hold on to herself. Lynn Marta as Cheryl. In 1975, at the age of 29, Lynn Marta stepped into the world of Starsky and Hutch as Cheryl in the series' opening pilot episode. With her soft, curly brown hair, a smile tinged with sadness, and eyes full of mystery, she made Cheryl one of the most memorable female characters in the iconic crime show. But behind the glow of television, Lynn Marta's real life resembled a tragic play, filled with twists that left the public stunned. Born on October 30th, 1945 in Somerville, New Jersey, Lynn was the daughter of George Marta, a first-generation Italian-American, and her mother Ruth, a gentle homemaker. From an early age, Lynn had to learn how to fight for attention in a strict traditional household. Her passion for the arts sparked when she began singing alone in her bedroom, the only place where she felt truly herself. Her youth was a series of tough jobs in restaurants, cramped apartments in Los Angeles, and endless auditions just to land small, forgettable roles. Then in 1966, her first break came in an episode of Gidget. From there, Lynn began appearing regularly on television, with roles in Love, American Style, The Streets of San Francisco, Charlie's Angels, Passions, and Days of Our Lives. She played many supporting characters, but never became a household name. Still, her classic beauty and gentle singing voice left an impression on television audiences throughout the 1970s and 80s. However, Lynn Marta's personal life was never smooth. In 1983, People magazine revealed that she and David Soul, the male lead from Starsky and Hutch, had once had an open relationship, living together while also seeing other people. The news caused a media stir and severely damaged Lynn's public image. Worse yet, in 1989, she became a direct eyewitness to the murder of actress Rebecca Schaefer, a friend from the industry, right outside the apartment complex where she lived. The horrifying event shook Hollywood and left Lynn with psychological trauma she would never truly overcome. On January 11, 2024, Lynn Marta passed away in Los Angeles after quietly battling cancer for many years. She was 78. Her estimated net worth was around $1 million, a modest sum compared to her peers from the same era. On the old vanity in her final bedroom, a black-and-white photograph was found. Lynn in her youth, smiling, holding a script whose ink had blurred from tears. Behind the high-octane action scenes of Starsky and Hutch were lives far more dramatic than fiction. The spotlight may have faded, but their pasts still leave us stunned. Who do you think had the most tragic fate? Leave a comment and subscribe to discover more untold stories. You'll be surprised. See you in the next video. Bye.